Hello and welcome to the 53rd commencement of the UC Davis School of Law. I'm Kelly Weiss, Executive Director of Marketing and Communications. This ceremony will honor the students who have successfully completed studies leading to the Master of Laws or Juris Doctor degree at the University of California. As this is a live and virtual ceremony produced through our Zoom platform, all graduates will be on mute throughout the event. Families and friends will be watching the ceremony on Facebook Live. Dean Johnson, Chancellor May, our student and faculty speakers, and our keynote speaker, Attorney General Rob Bonta, will give remarks. After that, we will confer the degrees and each graduate will be hooded virtually. We will call each graduate's name and the camera will spotlight them. The ceremony will begin shortly. Thank you for joining us today. It is my pleasure to now introduce Dean Kevin Johnson.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for joining us for the 2021 UC Davis School of Law commencement. And I get to be the first this morning to congratulate the class of 2021. I want to welcome California Attorney General Rob Bonta, Chancellor Gary May, faculty speaker Jasmine Harris, student speaker Victoria Chepotareff, law faculty, friends and family of our graduates, students and alums to our commencement. And I want to give a special shout out to the class of 2021 support dog, Tate, who was at the picture ceremony yesterday. We all wish we could celebrate in person, but I'm glad we could get together virtually. It's vital that we celebrate moments like this, how we can, when we can, after one of the most difficult years in modern history. Through what's been a global crisis, the class of 2021, amazingly, has stayed the course, has stayed on track, and can celebrate a major achievement today. It's a very good sign for your professional career. You're about to graduate from a great law school. Earning a UC Davis law degree takes a unique combination of intellect, curiosity, and perseverance. This is true in any year, but to earn a degree this year makes you especially remarkable. You and your families, your friends should be very proud. Now, faculty, staff, and your fellow students adapted amazingly quickly and somewhat seemingly effortlessly, but it was a lot of effort, to change and shift our education to meet the ever-shifting demands of the pandemic. We always kept an eye toward maintaining world-class instruction, and our alumni stepped up with mentorship opportunities, job leads and jobs, and contributions to the Student Relief Fund. And just a few weeks ago, one alum helped secure $1 million for the Law School for Student Scholarships. The unshakable bond of our community has carried us through this year. Without that bond, I'm not sure we could have made it. In a turbulent and unpredictable world, you, class of 2021, are fully equipped to confront it. You learned from a great faculty, you worked hard to no end. In the classroom, as well as top law reviews and premier news outlets, your professors offer insights into the nation's need for criminal justice reform and our history of discrimination. Our faculty members speak out about free speech, LGBT rights, disability rights, treason, immigration, civil rights, business, government stay-at-home orders, and much more. They fight for justice, for families, for immigrants, for prisoners, and many more groups. Now, Cruz Reynoso, a retired member of our faculty who sadly passed away last week, exemplifies the kind of fight you see in our faculty. He fought for justice his whole life. He was our conscience. He was our friend. The knowledge that our faculty have imputed to you will offer frameworks for battling injustice in the future. Because class of 2021, your time at King Hall was not just a legal education. It was a call for action for an entire career. Like all UC Davis Law graduates, you're part of a tight-knit community, but the class of 2021 is especially bonded in ways that go far beyond taking classes through Zoom. You attended a law school that honors every day Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose principles guide what we do. While you were in law school, new examples of what Dr. King fought for and fought against seem to erupt around you on a daily basis. Amid this past year's heartbreaking police violence and countless signs of systemic bias, from our immigration system to our corporate boardrooms and more, the need for lawyers of conscience became clearer and clearer. And thank you, class of 2021, for serving as our conscience. This class has helped communities in need. Students devoted nearly 24,000 hours to public service while in law school, while working in their classes, while studying for their exams. You assisted criminal defendants, asylum seekers, survivors of domestic violence, and more. Members of this class transformed the annual MLK holiday into a day of service, a day of action, a day to help people in need. Now, this class comes from incredibly varied backgrounds. Some of you are children of immigrants. A big percentage are, like me, the first in your families to go to college. The class holds graduates from great universities from coast to coast. Many of you had careers before law school in Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., in the San Joaquin Valley, abroad. Class members served in the military as teachers and scientists. You are joined forever by your time at UC Davis and by the shared purpose of using your law degree to help forge a more just nation. But I don't need to spell that out for you. You've already proven what you can do. Now, the graduates honored today at this commencement 2021 will advocate for justice, not just in our nation, but around the world. With us are our wonderful Master of Laws graduates. They are from Brazil, China, Colombia, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Kenya, and Saudi Arabia. We thank them for bringing their diversity and excellence to UC Davis Law. Now, it's my great pleasure, and we are honored to have Chancellor Gary May with us today. He's a renowned leader with a passion for helping others succeed. He believes that success is best judged by how we enhance the lives of others. A champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education and in the workplace, Chancellor May developed nationally recognized programs that attract and support underrepresented groups. In 2015, President Barack Obama honored Chancellor May with the Presidential Award for Excellence in STEM Mentoring. Chancellor May earned his master's and PhD degrees in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley. He is inducted into the National Academy of Engineering in 2018, and in 2020 was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences for educational and academic leadership. Chancellor May is a commissioner of the Council of Competitiveness and of other national committees. As UC Davis's 7th chancellor, he's leading the university to new heights in academic excellence, inclusion, public service, and upward mobility for students from all backgrounds. Please welcome Chancellor Gary May.
Thank you so much, Dean Johnson. I'm really happy to see all the graduates and their families, and I'm just pleased and honored to be able to celebrate such a joyous occasion with you. There's no question that the class of 2021 will go down in history. For well over a year, you persevered during the COVID-19 pandemic. You remained focused despite the waves of wildfires that blanketed our region with smoke, and you endured some of the most tumultuous days our country has ever seen. Through it all, you remained dedicated to learning about the pursuit of truth, justice, and the equal application of law. The statue honoring Dr. King in the law school lobby reminds us to live by his example, to make the world a better place through mutual respect, through harmony, and through justice. We were reminded of his legacy in the school's mission statement to educate socially conscious and ethical lawyers who are committed to excellence. With a role model like Dr. King and the guidance of this school's remarkably diverse faculty, the class of 2021 is well equipped to do good in the world. The school also had another role model. I'm thinking of how fortunate our School of Law was to have had someone like Cruz Reynoso among its faculty. His recent passing is a tremendous loss for the UC Davis community, but his impact remains. Cruz was not only a towering figure in civil rights law, but a humble and dedicated professor who shaped his world-class school for the better. In light of all this, all I can think of at this moment is how much the world needs you now. You are earning law degrees as racial tensions polarize our country and immigrant communities are under attack. You're graduating in an era when hate speech is no longer whispered in the shadows, but shouted in public places and on social media. This calls for social justice and systemic change. These calls for social justice and systemic change are being made loud and clear across the country. In these times, I'm reminded of my favorite quote from Dr. King. In 1967, he said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." Progress may sometimes feel like it moves at a glacial pace, but we're not going to succumb to despair. We're going to make this world better. Like Dr. King, I am an eternal optimist, and my optimism grows even more when I look at graduates like you. That's because you're the ones who will use the rule of law to help the voiceless. You are the ones who will stand up in the fight for social justice. You are the ones who will show how the rule of law is the underpinning of civil society, of our freedom, and of our democracy. No matter what kind of law you've studied, intellectual property, family law, environmental and natural resources law, healthcare law, or even land use planning, you are the ones who will uplift your fields by rising to the highest standards of ethics and excellence. Class of 2021, this is your moment. This is the time to take a deep breath, to think about all the long days and nights that it took to get here, and to feel a tremendous sense of joy on a day that you'll never forget. And as you reflect on your journey and the people whose support brought you here, I hope that you will pay it forward, because you aren't just a law school graduate, you are a role model for others. I guarantee you there's a young person who looks up to you right now. They want to be in your exact place with a diploma in hand from one of the country's leading schools of law and ready to make their mark on the world. So take them under your wing and show them what's possible. Be a mentor and an example of what a person can become through hard work, passion, and dedication to justice. I wish you all the best as you now close one major chapter and embark on the next phase of your life journey. Like I said, the world is waiting for you. Congratulations to the School of Law graduates of 2021.
Thank you, Chancellor May. The class of 2021 selected Victoria Chepeterev as student speaker. Born in Belarus, Victoria and her family came as refugees to the United States. She holds one, but two bachelor's degrees from UC Berkeley. As a law student, Victoria served in leadership positions in the Christian Legal Society and the King Hall negotiations team. She externed for the Sacramento County City Attorney's Office, the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office, California Attorney General's Office, and after graduation, she will join the California Attorney General's Office. Please welcome Victoria.
Thank you, Dean Johnson, for the introduction and for everything you've done in support of our student body over the past 3 years. I'm truly honored to have been selected as this year's student speaker. We have all had a long journey to get to this day. During my first week of law school, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. It was then that I began to witness the kind and generous hearts of my King Hall colleagues. They shared words of support and offered to help with class notes or in any way they could. I'm grateful to say that my mom has fully recovered, but I will never forget the kindness of my classmates. My experience is just one of many. In my second year, every King Hall student was thrown into a worldwide pandemic that none of us signed up for when we accepted our admission into law school. The pandemic was an additional layer to the difficulties many students were already facing due to finances, health concerns, or the basic pressures of trying to make it through law school and find success thereafter. We do not know what tomorrow holds. However, the same factors that have helped us endure the past 3 years, the love of our families, the care from our friends, and the support from our mentors and colleagues, will continue to be the same factors that will help us persevere and face the world out there with challenges of its own. But before we so eagerly turn the page to the next chapter of our lives, I encourage you to pause for a moment and reflect on what it was that brought you to law school in the first place. Many of us dreamed of becoming attorneys to help our communities, our families, and to use our profession for the good of mankind. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the great man after whom our law school is named, once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" No matter what field we enter, may that question always burn in our hearts. May we strive to apply our careers and the tools we received at King Hall these past 3 years to do good for those around us. In a world filled with darkness, may we shine our light. When we come across a different viewpoint, may we learn to listen and respond with respect. Professor Larson reminded us in constitutional law, if the Supreme Court justices can be friends, and so can we. When we find ourselves in difficult situations, may we act with integrity, especially when no one is watching. And as Justice Nathan Mehara once told my first year section, make the desire for truth your core. Class of 2021, our commencement today is a huge accomplishment. Our class has literally been through fire, smoke, racial and political unrest, and almost half of our law school experience was spent in a remote environment. You deserve a big congratulations. King Hall gave us lifelong friends, lasting memories, and valuable lessons. We used to despise the times when our professors replied to our legal questions with the answer, "It depends." But now we've come to adopt that phrase ourselves, especially when we're not sure of the answer on an exam. We grieved together when our beloved criminal law professor Feeney passed away after our first semester. We carried each other's burdens. We celebrated our accomplishments and milestones together. We made mistakes and learned to laugh from them. We did life together. King Hall also gave immigrant and first-generation students like myself the tools and resources necessary to accomplish our calling in life. King Hall gave each one of us the opportunities we used to only dream about. And today, on behalf of our graduating class, I want to say thank you to each and every member of the incredible staff, faculty, and to all the deans. To everyone who kept King Hall clean and sanitized, to the faculty who listened to us go on in office hours right before an exam, and those who had to quickly adapt to becoming instructors at Zoom School of Law. To all the deans who had to grapple with extremely difficult decisions these past few years, all while trying to keep our best interests in mind. We sincerely appreciate all of your efforts. And of course, to our families, spouses, children, partners, and friends, thank you for supporting us and bearing with us the past 3 years. Now, please continue to bear with us a little longer as we prepare to take the bar exam. Our success today is your success. We truly could not have made it without you. It is a joy to be celebrating with you all today. Congratulations again to the class of 2021. We did it.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm not sure about the moniker Zoom School of Law, but I do have a Zoom School of Law sweatshirt from the King Hall Legal Foundation that I wear often. Now, each year, the Law School Medal goes to the student with the highest academic standing among the JD candidates. This year, we had a 3-way tie. Our first medalist is Allie Anderson, a native of Sacramento and a graduate of Notre Dame. Allie was on our law review. She was a board member of the King Hall negotiations team and a co-chair of the Budget Policy Committee. She externed for Federal District Judge Troy Nunley was a research assistant for Professor Adam Winkley. This fall, Allie will be an associate at Cooley LLP in Palo Alto. Congratulations, Allie. Our next medalist is Shelley Richter, a graduate of Occidental. She served as a senior notes and comments editor on our law review. She also is a moot court honors board member, and she also served in her spare time as Professor Irene Jo's research assistant. Shelley externed for Magistrate Judge Allison Clare and worked for the Federal Public Defender and the Central California Appellate Program. Next year, she will clerk for the Nevada Supreme Court for Justice Christina Pickering, a King Hall alum. Yes, we do take care of our own. Congratulations, Shelley. Now, our final medalist is Nora Williams. With the BA from UC Davis, Nora attended law school at Villanova for a year before returning home to Davis. At King Hall, she chaired the Moot Court Honors Board. She externed for the State Department of Fair Employment and Housing and was a student in the Oki Center's Federal Amicus Project. This fall, she will be a UC Office of the President's Fellow in UC Davis's Office of Compliance. Congratulations, Nora. Now, the class of 2021 selected Professor Jasmine Harris as faculty speaker. She is a renowned expert in disability law, anti-discrimination law, and evidence law, and she'll be co-author of a casebook with Adam Winkley coming out very soon. Her scholarship has been published in some of the best law reviews in the world. She's also a committed teacher like no other. Please welcome Professor Jasmine Harris.
Thank you, Dean Johnson. I want to begin by congratulating you, the class of 2021, and thanking you for selecting me to give today's faculty commencement remarks. You've allowed me the privilege of sharing this very special day with you, and without exaggeration, this is truly the highest honor I could receive. Today's remarks are very on brand for me. No, they're not about the Bronx, my cousin Vinny, my lost days as a breakdancer or a high school basketball player, or perhaps more relevant to law school. Today's remarks are not about who would play Sir Walter Raleigh in my modern day straight to the CW network adaptation of his love affairs, trials, and posthumous contributions to our Sixth Amendment jurisprudence. In our time together this morning, instead, I want to challenge you to never stop asking why. One of my kids' favorite picture books is called Ada Twist Scientist by Andrea Beatty. It's about a young, precocious girl, Ada, who processes the world by asking the question why. The author writes, and I quote, "She started with why, and then what, how and when. And by that time, she came back to why again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, 'You'll figure it out.' Why ask why? In short, asking why is the simplest, most powerful way to live the values of this institution bearing the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. First, asking why exposes the power differentials at the heart of social justice. Understanding context, intent, motivation for a law or policy, its political backdrop, allows us to see who stands to gain and the disproportionate impacts of those laws and policies and what they might have on people who have less political power. For example, we've seen the ways in which decisions to build highways, factories, and chemical plants in poor neighborhoods have disproportionately affected people who are poor, disabled, of color, and immigrants who live in those communities. Why? Because these communities at times are perceived as expendable populations. The why matters. Second, asking why when facing someone who's hostile to you, your beliefs, your values, or those of your client offers opportunities for empathy and connection. Why did you vote the way you did? Why do you feel so strongly about the vaccine or masks? Or why is your client bringing this lawsuit? When asked respectfully, as Victoria told us, as Professor Larson said, these questions open up spaces for dialogue. They uncover motives, and perhaps most importantly, emotions. The emotions that guide people to value their cases, their willingness to resolve disputes, their perceived capacity to live side by side and share space with others who hold different religious, political, or ideological beliefs. The why matters. Third, because those of you who know me know that I adhere to the rule of threes, asking why keeps you mindful, intentional about your own career, and perhaps most importantly about your own happiness. Why do you want to work in X firm? Why practice? Or Z office? Are you happy? Ask the question, are you happy? Why? What do you actually need to be happy? Money, prestige, power, service, connection? The why matters. Asking why will make people uncomfortable sometimes, because sometimes if you ask why enough, systems and institutions can be exposed for discrimination, unfairness, and all their deficiencies. This can scare some people. In Tanner versus the United States, for example, the Supreme Court addressed the question of whether jurors can testify as to juror impropriety that might affect a verdict. The impropriety in that case, as many of you have laughed alongside me, included jurors who drank alcohol excessively and used drugs over the lunch hour in the jury room. Decisions that arguably affected their capacity to perform their legal duty. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, writing for a majority of the court, said that the federal rules of evidence prohibition on juror testimony in all but a few cases and circumstances did not offend the Sixth Amendment. Relevant to this conversation, Justice O'Connor reasoned in part, quote, that it is not at all clear that the jury system could survive such efforts to perfect it. But that's exactly what you must do. If asking why opens Pandora's box, so be it. Justice requires that you never stop asking why. For any naysayers out there, let me tell you that you've already began to cultivate this mindful practice. You've asked the administration, for example, why on a number of occasions. I won't ask Dean Johnson for the exact numbers. And this has produced collaborative initiatives in mental health, the curriculum, faculty hiring. Your conversations with each other, our deans and faculty, for example, produced a powerful racial justice speaker series that has helped us process and begin to process the racial violence that's surrounding us, that streams to our phones and our computers at a rate too high and too fast to keep up with. I've seen you care for each other, even when you disagree politically or ideologically. And my colleagues and I have pushed you to ask why, in cases from torts to evidence. Questions such as, why does the reasonable person standard include some but exclude many? Why do we have a default presumption of competence as our federal rule on witness testimony? We've pushed you to develop a critical toolbox that applies whether you're practicing tax law or civil rights. Within your toolbox, you now have several critical lenses to apply to the problem, to help frame that very problem, and to contextualize law and its impact on society. These tools will help you to reflect, better understand, challenge, and ultimately remedy the injustices that persist. But it all begins with one simple question: why? I'm so very proud of you and all that you've accomplished, especially during such a difficult moment in our history. I know you will continue to serve and seek justice. Never stop asking why. And when you look back on your career someday, you will do so with pride as we, your professors, families, and friends look upon you today. We know that you, like Ada Twist, when you ask why, you have and will continue to figure it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Harris. I always learn from hearing from our faculty, and I have to ask why. Why breakdancing? Why the New York Yankees? Why the Duke Blue Devils? All these things come to mind. But thank you, truly thank you for those remarks. Now I had the great privilege and honor to introduce California Attorney General Rob Bonta. And Attorney General Bonta, if you could turn on your video, that would be wonderful. Sworn in last month by Governor Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta is California's 34th Attorney General and the first Filipino-American, second Asian American to hold this office. His passion for justice and fairness was instilled in him by his parents, who served on the front lines of some of America's most important social justice movements. Imparting lessons they learned as United Farm Workers and civil rights advocates, Attorney General Bonta's parents lit a fire inside him to become a lawyer to help right historic wrongs. A perfect speaker for our graduation today. Born in the Philippines, Attorney General Bonta immigrated to California with his family as an infant. He worked his way through college, graduating with honors from Yale College before earning his JD from Yale Law School. He worked as deputy city attorney with the city and county of San Francisco and served on the Alameda City Council before being elected to the California State Assembly in 2012. As a Democratic representative from the 18th Assembly District, Rob Bonta advanced systemic change, pursuing corporate accountability, standing up for workers, and more, including punishing big polluters and fighting racial injustice. He's been a national leader in the fight to transform the criminal justice system, banning private prisons and detention facilities in California, as well as pushing to eliminate cash bail. Attorney General Bonta has led statewide fights for racial, economic, and environmental justice and worked to further the rights of immigrant families, renters, and working Californians. Put simply, Rob Bonta has fought for justice for all, and he's no stranger to King Hall. Our professors and law students have had him participate in numerous events in the law school. So today, please welcome Attorney General Rob Bonta.
Thank you so much, Dean Johnson, for that very kind introduction. And good morning and congratulations to the UC Davis Law School class of 2021. I'm super honored to be here to speak with you and to share this really special moment and special day for all of you and all of your families and your loved ones. And deeply honored to be serving as California's Attorney General. I just wrapped up my third week on Friday, and just so honored and privileged to be in the new role and to have the reach and the scope of work that the office holds to help people, which is my goal in public service, to lift people up and make people's lives better. And I know so many of you share that same goal. I want to start off with a few thank yous, starting with thanking Chancellor Gary May and Dean Kevin Johnson for inviting me. This is a special moment, I know, for so many, and I'm really proud and honored and thankful and appreciative to share this moment with you. And I want to thank Professor Jasmine Harris and Victoria Chebatarev, excuse me, who I believe, as I understand it, will be joining the Department of Justice. So welcome. And it's really wonderful to know that our Department of Justice is going to be in great hands as we invest in our future leaders. So good to see you, Victoria, and I really enjoyed your remarks. Looking forward to working with you in the Department of Justice. And I want to take this opportunity to thank a few special graduates whose who I've been able to spend time with, who I've really benefited greatly from their time and their talent and their service. They actually worked in my office, and I wanted to say a big shout out to Christy Thielen and Lisa Nakashima and Kyoshi Din, who are graduating today, who all worked in my office. And I just think the world of all three of you. Thank you. As you've heard me say many times, once part of Team Banta, always part of Team Banta. So if there's anything I can do for you to support you as you take the next steps in what I know have been and will continue to be incredible careers, please reach out and let me know. And just finally want to just say thank you to all the friends and families of the graduates, all the alumni and faculty for joining us today. Again, I know this is a really special moment in a very unique time. And let's recognize this moment that we're in. I know for many of you, when you envision what it might look like to graduate from law school at King Hall at UC Davis, you may not have thought it would look like this. And I want to just give you a shout out for your resilience, your grit, your grind, your perseverance, your toughness. This has been a difficult time, a time for so many filled with loss and grieving, with fear and anxiety, anger as well. And through it all, you found your way to this stage and this special moment. It's a special moment for any law school graduate at any law school at any time, but certainly at this time, in this moment, and given the values and the mission of King Hall to fight for social justice and to make our world better. We're in the middle of a time and a moment that's calling for change makers, for leaders to step up and do more and fight harder and lean in more fully to create the change that we need. So I just want to recognize that grit and grind, and also say this, that while you have all fought and worked hard and deserve to be here and enjoy and should be enjoying this moment and be full of pride, none of us are able to get where we are without support and without loved ones and without others, families and friends and loved ones who have our back and lift us up and pick us up sometimes when we're struggling. So, I have thought many times throughout this pandemic over the last year. I thought about it a lot beforehand, but I thought about it even more during the pandemic. That incredible phrase, that line from Letter from a Birmingham City Jail, Martin Luther King Jr.'s, very famous piece about our inescapable network of mutuality and that single garment of destiny that we share, that we are all interconnected, that we're going to rise together or not at all, that we share a common future and a shared future. And what any one of us does affects the rest of us. And that couldn't have been more clear than during this pandemic. If someone decided that they were going to maintain and honor 6 feet of physical distancing, then that helped save someone's health and maybe save someone's life. If someone wore a mask, it wasn't for them, it was for the person they were protecting, their neighbor, their friend, their colleague. Would people stay home? Would they shelter in place? Would they honor the rules that if we all could follow them together, we could all survive and thrive together. But anyone's mistake or inability or unwillingness to really hurt others. So we saw so much in this in this year, just how we are so interconnected and how we are so intertwined. And one of the things that I was very inspired by was that in the darkest of times, you often see the best in people. And we worried about each other. We took care of one another. We looked out for each other. We had each other's backs. We delivered meals to folks who were suffering from hunger or weren't able to leave their homes to get a meal. We reached out to people and called them and let them know that they're not alone, even when they were isolating to be safe. We had a government that sent checks to folks so that they could stay home and be safe, but also pay their rent and pay their bills and stay in their homes and feed their kids. And again, we lived that inescapable network of mutuality, and we rose up in the most difficult of times and thought about not just ourselves, we thought about each other and how we could succeed together. And that's the spirit of who we are. That's the spirit of who we must be as a state, as a nation, as an international community as well. And that was on full display time and time again throughout the pandemic, something I'm very proud of. And that is really what animates what I hope will define my role in the California Attorney General's office, that I will be the people's attorney, that I will fight for everyday folks, for the voiceless, for the vulnerable, for those who've been mistreated or cast aside or forgotten or been abused, and be their champion. I'll make your fights and the fights of Californians my fights, and I'll look out for you and for the people of California, and make sure I have your back, and that the scales of justice are balanced, and that when someone is being hurt, that I step in and make sure to achieve justice. So that's why I see the role, very simply put, making sure I protect the little guy against the abuse and overreach of power of the big guy. And we've shown that spirit of taking care of one another time and time again, and something I'm just very, very thankful for and very honored about. In preparing and thinking about speaking with you today and celebrating this special moment with all of you, I thought about my own pathway to law school. And it was a long time ago. And I was a kid. I was born in the Philippines. Some of you may know I came here when I was 2 months old. We left the Philippines to rebuild our lives after the rise to power of Ferdinand Marcos and what soon became a declaration of martial law and a dictatorship full of human rights abuses and other misdeeds. And we came back to California, and I grew up in California. Went to public schools, went to Pershing Elementary School and Winston Churchill Middle School and Bella Vista High School. And I had a dream of going to law school. I wasn't the most sophisticated thinking or thought, but I, in high school, read To Kill a Mockingbird. And I may have even watched the video instead of reading the book, because I did that sometimes. I know none of you have ever done that, but I did that sometimes. And I was very inspired by the Atticus Finch character and what he stood for, what he meant about the law and what it could be and what it is at its best. A noble profession of attorneys who are fighting for justice, who are pushing back against unfair, unjust systems and structures, and navigating and guiding their client through that unfairness to fairness, to justice, righting wrongs and fixing problems and helping people. And that's what I thought the law could be. And that's what I found it is, and it can be. It's something that we need to show every day. We need to earn it and prove it and demonstrate it and act in that way consistent with the highest ideals of the profession. But that is what the law can and should be, a place to seek and find justice and to bring healing to those who have been treated unfairly, and make sure that we fix systems and solve problems and create that fairness where it didn't exist before. And that is actually the spirit of my parents as well. I had the opportunity to be raised in a family with two parents who are social justice activists to the core, who believed in fighting for people, righting wrongs, and fixing injustice. And my dad marched for voting rights and civil rights. Both my parents worked for the United Farm Workers of America, as was mentioned earlier. We lived in a trailer a stone's throw away from the homeless Cesar Chavez. My dad worked in the front office, setting up healthcare clinics for the farm workers across the state and in other parts of the nation. My mom worked in the preschool. Dolores Huerta was there when we were there. A great leader called Philip Veracruz would come to our trailer for Filipino breakfast when he visited for meetings. And I saw my parents fight for others as well, and seek to fix injustices and make people's lives better. And that's the spirit that motivates me today in this new role as California Attorney General. And I know it's what motivates so many of you as well. So, one of the things I just want to say is that, this is often talked about in graduation ceremonies, and I'll mention it here, but maybe in a little bit of a different way. And that is that, often when speaking to a group that has sort of realized a milestone, achieved a new mark in their lives and in their careers, we talk about how, they're the leaders of tomorrow. And I will say you all are the leaders of tomorrow, no doubt, but you're also the leaders of today. You're the leaders of now. there's no time to wait. We have urgent problems that need to be addressed. We need the energy and skill and passion and commitment of all of you now. And you have one of the biggest gifts that can be given, and one of the most powerful weapons you can wield with a law degree. The ability to understand the systems in which we operate and navigate through them, and understand what is imperfect and what needs change and how to make that change. And so you're taking a next step into our society and into our world, armed with one of the most powerful tools that there is. And so it's important to have that tool. And it's also really important to wield it for the right ends, for the right causes. And so I'll also share this. If you, I know that this is not possible for everyone. I know the realities of student loans, and I've lived those realities from college and from law school. So we can't always make the decision that is the best one that we want to pursue this moment, because we need to face life's realities. But if you can, and when you can, I always encourage folks to lead with their hearts and with their values. And from our own personal upbringings and life's experience, we know things that need to change. We know injustices that need to be addressed. We know wrongs that need to be righted. And if you want to be a civil rights attorney, or you want to work in support of tenants and renters, or you want to help expand healthcare or fight back against environmental injustice, and you can, I very strongly recommend that you take the opportunity to use that powerful tool and that incredible education and that skill set that you have to help make our world better. There's so many places where it's broken, and there's so many places where it needs to be addressed. We need all hands on deck, and everyone fighting in the ways that they can. So when you can, if there's that call to action that you feel in your heart you really want to be, and something you really want to do, I encourage you to do it. And I'll just share a story about my father, who was in seminary school, Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley. He was in graduate school, and he was there in the 60s. And he was there at a time when some of his colleagues were in Selma, Alabama, organizing with other activists, and they would record these speeches of this incredible leader that was there, who was talking about justice and equality and activism and not accepting the past, and reaching out to a more just and fair future and bringing us closer. And they would record in Selma, Alabama, these words and these speeches, and they would pack them up and put them in the mail and send them back to the Pacific School of Religion, where my dad would receive them and tear open the package and put the tape cassette into the tape player. You guys probably have no idea what the technology is that I'm talking about, but it was a old technology that recorded and played sound called audio cassettes. And they would listen to the words of this man. And this man, of course, was the man after which UC Davis Law School was named. It was Martin Luther King Jr. He was talking about a better world, a fair world, a more just world. And my dad heard those words, and they were a call to action to him. He felt he needed to be there. He needed to go and be in Selma and be on the ground where change was being made, be at the epicenter, be near and around Martin Luther King Jr. And he did. He jumped on a train, an Amtrak train. It took him 3 days to get out to Selma. And he met this incredible leader there named Stokely Carmichael. And he was in church when Martin Luther King Jr. spoke. And he marched and he organized and he helped fight for civil rights and voting rights. And it's that call to action that calls all of us in different ways and in many ways. But when you hear it, I highly encourage you to respond and answer that call to action. And let me just talk a little bit more about this moment that we're in, this moment that's full of multiple intersecting crises. They've been touched on in part already. We're still in the middle of an international pandemic, although we are emerging, and there's more light at the end of the tunnel and more hope and optimism about where we're headed. Here in California, we have the most vaccines in arms of any state, and more than most nations. We have the lowest positivity rate in the nation. So things are getting better, but we are still in that international pandemic. It's sparked an economic recession. We're in the middle of a racial justice reckoning, where we're turning a moment into a movement and turning the injustice that we all saw with our own eyes with the murder of George Floyd into durable, sustainable change that will make us a more fair society and a more just society. We're already in the middle of a homelessness and housing affordability crisis, a climate crisis. We're wrestling with wildfires. So there is much to do in this moment. And as we face these external threats, we came together and we also committed to being better. We saw the cracks in our system and the imperfections in our society, and we made commitments to fix them. Those commitments have not all been realized, and they require ongoing attention and prioritization and support from folks like you, whether it be the officer-involved shootings that lead to the deaths of too many Black and brown neighbors across this nation, whether it be the white supremacist attack on our nation's capital in January, and whether it be the attacks based on hate of our API community right now that we're seeing too much of. There is much to do, and this moment reminds me of a photograph of a hotel lobby that I have in my office. I've had it since the day I was in elected public office, and it shows a hotel lobby in 1920s Stockton, and it shows a sign that says positively no Filipinos allowed. And I have that sign as an ongoing and constant reminder of where we've been in this nation and in this state and where we still need to go, that we can never be content and we can never be satisfied. There's always more work to do to drive us forward on that sort of ongoing continuum of justice. And we also know that too many of us throughout our nation's and our state's history have faced that sting of hate. I know I have. I know many of you have as well. Asian, Black, Latino, Native American, Californians, LGBTQ, Jewish, Sikh, Muslim communities. So many of us and too many of us have faced attacks because of who we are, where we're from, and who we love. But that hate hasn't been all-encompassing. It hasn't defined who we are or what we can achieve. And in spite of that hate, Californians have built the most diverse state and the world's most robust democracy. And we have found in these dark times a commitment to repair our criminal justice system, to fight inequities in our other systems, including healthcare and housing, and to protect our neighbors, including our workers and renters and consumers. So, in this dark time, with all these challenges, we've pulled together and come together and recommitted to a better world. So let me end with this to the class of 2021. I remember there was a time when people would talk about the next generation and stepping up and leading. And at that time, they were talking about my generation. Now we're not talking about my generation. We're talking about your generation. You're the next generation that will step up and lead and take us to where we need to go. One of the things that's been so motivating to me and so inspiring for me is that there is a moral clarity in your generation about what is right and what is wrong, about what we can accept and that we cannot accept the unacceptable. And that's powerful for me. That motivates me to do better and to fight harder. And it inspires me and makes me very confident that we're in good hands. So, you've shown your commitment to change and to social justice time and time again, including the 24,000 hours of public service that you've given as a class, and all the other work that you've done. And I know that as you begin your professional careers as attorneys, you're gonna build bridges between, build bridges with persecuted communities and stand up for what's right and stand up for social justice and be deserving of carrying on the legacy of King Hall and UC Davis Law School. So with that, I just want to say I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you. Congratulations. I'm happy for all of you. And congratulations to the UC Davis Law School class of 2021. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's Kelly Weiss again. Before we start with the hooding, I wanted to address a technical issue that we're dealing with right now. So we have everyone in queue and Zoom, and they're alphabetically listed so that we can make sure to get every graduate in line and hood them. What we have experienced is some people have lost their connection and are not in that Zoom meeting anymore. For those of you who are listening in our waiting room, we have written your names on cards, and what we're going to do is at the end, our name reader will come to you at the end. So we're sorry for that inconvenience that you got knocked off, but we are troubleshooting it right now. And please wait. So you're going to stay in the waiting room. And at the end, again, we will come to you at the end. So please don't worry that we're not letting you in. The reason we're not doing that is because it will mess up that alphabetical order. So please hang tight in the waiting room. We're going to proceed now with the hooding, and I invite Dean Johnson back to the podium.
Sorry about that technical difficulty. We really are working on it. I want to thank Attorney General Bonta for his thoughtful remarks. Now, our commencement is the product of an incredible amount of work. It was incredibly difficult this year, given the virtual nature of the commencement ceremony. I want to give special thanks to Onel Berrios, Jose Alfonso Perez, Kelly Weiss, and our great staff members who helped make this event possible. Now it's time. Will the Juris Doctor and Master of Laws candidates please prepare to have their names read and to be hooded?
Regina Agopian. Saif Al-Rubai. Youssef Al-Fahid. Jillian Elizabeth Ames. Alana Marie Anderson. Victoria Anderson. Mark Allen Anashenko. Mina Arista. Carlos Avita Velasquez. Nicholas Masayoshi Awakuni. Raul Azucena. Arbi Babakanlu. Lauren Elizabeth Ball. Kelly Virginia Beskin. Emily Sharon Bills. Samantha Ray Blemker. Courtney Bloodgood. Jeanette Lillian Boykins. Emma Trawick Bradley. Juliana Marie Bramwell. Storm Edward Brandenburg. Alicia Briggs. Joseph Brown. John Byerly. Raquel Caballero. Diana Cabrera Vega. Raquel Campuzano Santa Maria. Leah Capranica. Leticia Casillas Lucan. Alexander Castaneras. Jonathan Lee Chai. Zoya Chikorsky. Charles Chan. Manasa Chinny. Victoria Chabatarev. Aileen Chong. Daria Klechikov. Andrew Cohen. Caitlin Livingstone Cooper. Brianna Cowan. Jesse William Craig. Musa Dajani. Haley DeGeneva. Ishika Desai. Lavneet Dillon. Kiyoshi Din. Alice Donahue. Samantha Drix. Amanda Claire Eaton. Megan Eaton. Tarek Mohammed El-Gabalawi. Amelia Jane Evard. Elizabeth Ann Fernandez Vina. John Morgan Florentino. Andrew Freewald. Desiree Freitas. Cameron Gable. Alejandra Crystal Gallegos. Montserrat Garcia Juarez. Ariana Gavami. Noah Andrew Gonzalez. Angelica Gonzalez Bastidas. Melissa Goodman. Frederick Gorn. Casper Gorner. Carson Adam Graves. Shayla Griffin. Alejandra Gutierrez. Taylor Claren Hall. Evan Hamling. Amelia Haney. Andrew Haney. Delaney Andrea Hausner. Caleb Hill. Yuki Hirai. Vanessa Hoffman. Danya Hoffner. Ryan Isola. Natalia Jacobo. Sitara Zara Jahid. Matthew Planis Javier. Nicholas Jensen. Ashley Kavana Jerbick. Joel Johnson. Sydney Elizabeth Johnson. Alex Jarenka. Ryan Kang. Pavinpreet Kaur. Peter Sean Carney. Emil Cancray. Sean Kennedy. Mohammed Kenyatta. Kristen Kerr. Polly Kim. Nicole Klieger. Clark Noble. Laura Elizabeth Kurtz. Joanna Kwong. Breton Laudeman. Katarina Lee. Annie Lee. Eric Leroy. Wilson Lee. Kayla Lindgren. Joseph Patrick Loyacano. Christine Long. Lillian Gabriela Lopez Zapata. Aisha Majid. Alex Martinez. Jordan McKee. Carolyn McKinney. Matthew Johann Michelson. Tara Ratan Merchandani. Jonathan Alexis Morellis. Monica Monsalve. Tanya Montoya Block. Samuel Morris. Louis Maroney. Lisa Yoshiko Nakashima. Mariah Joelle Noah. Urena Ashley Obiama. Joseph Offenhauser. Jessica Pecky. Luz Peraza Lizarraga. Thea Percival. Dustin Peterson. Huang Pham. Lanny Pham. Ablilasha Pokrel. Janelle Pritchard. Sijia Pu. Jennifer Alexandra Puza. Melissa Quintero. Andrew James Rambo. Jennifer Ramon. Brandon Nicholas Valdivia Reta. Jacqueline Reinders. Shelley Richter. Kendra Rivas. Emily Ann Roberts. Lydia Rodriguez. Jenna Marie Rogensky. Liliana Romero. Alexandria Ross. Colin Rowe. Naharika Sachdeva. Karina Seeley Vandenbard. Carrie Robin Sherman. Audrey Shin. Hike Senekchian. Justin Allen Stacy. Melissa Stratton. Yalin Sun. Alexandra Taylor. Christy Kimiko Thielen. Kaylee Thomas. Morgan Jean Tolles. Melissa Tribble. Austin David Turner. Angela Wen Shun Tu. Kurt Vandy Mortel. Jacqueline Von Emmerich. Adam Manuel Vasquez. Maria Walker. Tianjiao Wang. Jessica Mae West. Nora Williams. Nicholas Wu. Justina Yassa. Galen Yoon. Daniel Zales. Tyler Zepp. Brian Zhang. Wen Zhou. Brennan Zollner.
Hello again, everyone. Wasn't that great? Thank you so much for being here. That was really fun to see all of you with your families and celebrating. I ask that you have a little bit of patience here. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the waiting room and we're going to recognize those who had internet connection problems or came in late. So we are going to cut our video feed momentarily. So please stand by and we will be back on in just 1 second. We're going to get everyone lined up so we can go back to those we missed. Okay, thank you.
Sabrina Echeverry. Yule Lee. Callie Sarkin. Alejandra Gallegos. Haley DeGeneva. Desiree Freitas. Andy Ta. Alyssa Ziegenhorn. Philip Mark Julius. Jonathan Morellis. James Cabot. Alexander Castaneras. Emma Trewick Bradley. Louise Varjow. David Kramer.
Thank you for your patience. That's the completion of our commencement 2021. Congratulations to the class of 2021. And thank you very much for being here. Stay safe.